live? Do you live in this section or you live in
I
another?
used to live so I've lived in 3 places, Park and Woodlawn, then Moorhead, and now in South Boulevard, which is really only about 2.5 miles from school.
Okay.
But unfortunately not in West Charlotte.
And the kids that, like your region, that your district holds, what area, like what section of
So
Charlotte?
we have where you guys are, that's our boundary. So we have the side of Freedom closest to Uptown. We have the whole Tuckasegee area. If you go down Wilkinson, like when you hit the Walmart, we're pretty much that whole zone to the right.
Okay.
There are a couple communities we serve on the left of Wilkinson. It's a pretty small boundary. And then we also have a number of scholars and transients that we send buses all over Charlotte to bring our kids to us. So it's not, I would say maybe, I want to get this, yes, yeah, and which we have about 100 of. So we serve about 550 kids. And so the vast majority of them are in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And so Ashley Park, it's from K to 8 or it's
Pre-K through 8.
Pre-K
So
through
2
8.
pre-K classes, and then and pre-K works differently in CMS. They run it through a pre-K department. So we're told who we get for pre-K, and they might not be in our boundary, but everyone in K through 8, Ashley Park is their home school.
Good.
Yeah.
So what are some your best moments working at this school, either as principal or not as principal? Something like your happiest memories.
It's mostly all about kids, and I never considered that any of my best moments or memories wouldn't be just me directly with kids. And starting at Ashley Park, it was specific relationships I had with kids where I watched them succeed. Like I can think of a scholar that I think still lives in this neighborhood, Cedric, who I taught 8th grade math to. And I remember being super intentional about the way I was teaching. The teacher had resigned at spring break, and so I went in and taught the class from spring break until the end of the year. And I had all their data and ways in which I needed to move the bar for them in those last 2 months. And so I made these super intense lesson plans and activities and all these ways to assess and help kids diagnose where they were and give them a lot of the responsibility too in their learning. So I just remember that Cedric hadn't, not because of his own skill or potential, but under that teacher hadn't done as well. And so I just remember watching the way he realized he could be really successful and be celebratory over his first 100. He lost his mind. He wanted to take a picture with me. Then he wanted to send the picture to his mom, and it was just beautiful to watch. I love middle school. To watch kids still be so into doing well academically when there's a competing social pressure to be an adolescent and care deeply about what others think of you. It's hard to navigate. And so honoring that the social part matters and giving space to that, and also honoring that doesn't mean you have to lose your goal orientation around your academics and what you want to be. Sports is really helpful in that, clubs are really helpful in that, but adult relationships really helpful in that. When a scholar trusts you and knows what you're going through, they listen to you when you give advice, right? And so that moment was, much more about a grade, but it wasn't that he got 100, it was that I watched him realize he was super smart, and that was taken from him. And so it was beautiful to watch him gain back confidence. So it's stuff like that. So I mentioned at the beginning that I thought that those moments would only ever be specific to kids because that's why I do the work. But in my latter years as a principal, it's been really beautiful to just watch teachers that I love, that I recruit, that I value, and watching them be an amazing ally to kids is a really unique, beautiful feeling. I can just realize and recognize, and I'm the first to say this, if you cloned me and made me the teacher at every room at Ashley Park, you'd be missing a huge opportunity to put a group of diverse people in front of our children that care deeply about them and all come from different perspectives and contexts. So what we have in common is that we all love our kids and we have high expectations for them, but we all have difference around how we grew up and who we are and what we care about, and our kids deserve to see a diverse staff coming together for them. I wish I could say that the rest of this world is as diverse and as collaborative and as harmonious, but it isn't always. And so what can I do as a leader to create that at Ashley Park for our 550 children? That's a huge opportunity and not something, it's a privilege. It's not something I take lightly. So watching adults come together for our kids and be excellent for them is I am just honored to be positioned to hire them to do that and to support them in doing that.
That sounds
So,
like a rewarding
yeah,
experience.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I feel like I'm like living in my purpose right now in a sense that um, I felt like I had a tremendous impact in the classroom at Cochrane and at Ashley Park. And then I never wanted to leave schools because I felt like I'd lose my impact. And so I've just kind of gotten really comfortable in a good way and like also uncomfortable, but like comfortable in my impact at the principal level to just bring the right people in front of my children, knowing that like it's not always going to be me and that's okay. I'm always going to love all of them and advocate for them and make sure the best people are in front of them, but empowering others to do that has been a really fun thing to discover I can be good at.
Do you miss teaching? Like
I do, but
having a class
yeah,
yourself?
so I do miss teaching, but I also get to teach teachers and I also get to see kids every morning. So like the best part of my day, it sounds cheesy, but it like gives me the energy I need, is I stand out at arrival post and like greet every bus and, hug kids and, you know, just like give them little motivational pump ups, or they don't need it and they just walk by and say, hey, like whatever they need from me, I'm able to give them when I see each of them every morning. So it's beautiful. It's like a good groundedness to start each day like that. And then I spend the rest of the day coaching their teachers and coaching other adults to be excellent for them. So I don't feel at all like I'm not connected. So there's nothing to miss really. I feel like I'm with them all day. And I get to see all of them pre-K through 8. So it's not, what I always wish for our staff is they could get outside their classroom more often. Like they need to be in there teaching kids, but I just get to know all of the teachers and know all of the kids so well. So there's not much to miss. Like I did love teaching, but I feel like I'm better at what I'm doing now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't have to say it.
Oh, good. Oh, yours looks better than mine. Mine's like, we're a week and a half in on this.
Oh, I just did mine.
They look nice.
So being a part of this community, so you're like you're in the school building, but you have a sense of like who the children are like in this
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
How has it changed from like
Yeah.
the dynamics of the kids then to when
Yeah.
you're first starting to like how they're changing now?
Yeah, I think our kids have always been and continue to be brilliant. I think we've just figured out different ways, and we're still getting better every day at different ways to then tap into the broader community that's also influencing them, right? So, gosh, there's so many answers to that. I feel like as I'm there longer, I get to know families more deeply. I was saying earlier how there's so many siblings that come through our school. And so I don't have to be a fresh face to a lot of parents. They know me because I taught their older child or that I taught their cousin or, and if they don't know that, I make that connection and let them know that, right? Like, oh my gosh, I used to teach Timmy when he, and that's a beautiful connection point because even though I don't look like our families, which I do believe is a fact, I'm not going to pretend it's not a factor. I recognize it is, and there's no, I understand. And so like, if I'm going to lead with relationships and purpose, then I should do that every time. And our families deserve to know that I love all of the children I serve. But that is something I should have to prove, right? And so I do. But I also make sure that I have the best teachers in front of my kids, because at the end of the day, our parents really want our teachers to be excellent. Like, of course I matter and they want to feel like I'm doing my best work, but the teacher's the first point of contact, right? So over the years, I would say we've gotten better at parent participation and communication because we've gotten better and better at getting great teachers in front of our kids. And we have a PTSA for the first time. We're engaging after school partners differently. I've never felt less alone in the work. I used to see it like it was a school, it was our families and it was our kids. And now I feel like there are public and private partnerships that are like down for coming to the building and painting murals, or down for mentoring our kids and tutoring, or down for just literally giving me money to feed staff for a training. Like there's a different level of investment in the work that isn't just about school, home, and child. I feel a sense that the larger, broader Charlotte community is involved. And it's my job to kind of manage how people take their desire to participate or do something and like actually match it to what their skill set and what we need. And I'm kind of just like the connection point. Because you have to be people that want to give their time but can't give it consistently, or people that want to contribute something monetarily to this school but then have a different expectation about how it'll be used. Like it's just something I tend to over communicate with that stuff because I've just learned.
It's better to over communicate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've learned that with everything. But
Some people have a lot of different intentions coming
they
up.
do, and I get very protective over the intention. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And how do you say that in a politically kind way?
Did you read the article in the Observer the other day about
Churches?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
I completely agree.
So
with
I was in the meeting
Uh-huh.
when the original question was asked.
Oh.
Like, this white guy stood up and asked
Uh-huh.
Tiffany, like it was a Black Lives Charlotte
Yeah.
matter.
And I work with
meeting.
Tiffany with Teach for America
Yeah,
too.
and so like the guy stood up and said that, and I was like, that was like a really naive question. But I've also come to believe that if somebody like that doesn't ask the question, then you never raise the issue.
What was the question? What was the question?
It was about why do some
Why do some black churches or black neighborhoods not want white churches to give them money?
Yeah.
And essentially, she was like, because you have the wrong intention. Cause,
Right.
You know, and
It's
she gave,
very
I
similar
mean,
to school partnership
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah. No, I completely. And I thought her answer in the moment, in the evening, was like, she nailed it. Like, I thought it was really, she was
She wrote the larger text.
But I thought the larger context was even more powerful and more thoughtful, and it reached a broader audience because there were only 150 people in the room.
Well,
so.
and something that I struggle with, which is a deeper political thing, which I'm happy to say, is like I want diversity for our kids. I want them to be in a school where they see people that look like them and don't. So I talked before about how the diversity of our staff I think is really critical, and we have diversity on our staff. Not the layers that I want to have, but I have that belief. I also have the belief that our kids deserve to see a lot of professionals that look like them. Like I think I can do both of those things, and I'm always striving to balance both of those things. And that's a big deal, and it's important. And I could pretend that it's not, but that would I wouldn't be a good leader. And so there's that. But then there's also this idea of intention. Like why do you want to come here? Our kids don't need saving. Our kids are already brilliant. They just need someone to help them tap into that completely. So that's a mindset that you have to figure out as you're invited into your building. I get protective over anyone coming into the building wanting to save or do charity work. That's my kids don't need your charity, like they're kids. They just need to be taught really well and like see everything that's out there for them. And in that way, it's not mission work. And like, forgive me for that being, I don't know, is that divisive? I'm not sure. It's something I've realized, and thankfully I have more examples of people coming for the right reasons than the wrong reasons.
Okay.
But you just have to be discrepant about it. And I would say that people that come to teach, I don't have to deal with that as often because they're really choosing Ashley Park for a bunch of specific reasons, and I interview on that. I'm talking more about just people that want to come by and give something. And so it's just being clear on like, what are your expectations of this and why? And most people have great answers, and like I've just learned how to manage the resources that are, given to us. And we also, so as an example, something that's definitely different is Ortho Carolina, for example, gave us this huge grant. It was written up in the paper. The beauty of that is they trust me to decide, and they're another partner to decide how to leverage that. They don't tell me, here's how we want you to spend these dollars, or here are the specific outcomes that you need to produce. They're open to hearing about what worked and what didn't, and just understanding the reality of the situation. So again, more good examples than bad ones, but just a way I need to be critical. And then it can become protective. So.
Now, when did you know you wanted to be a teacher? You seem like so passionate about it.
Yeah,
and so
thanks.
mature.
I figured out my junior year of college. I studied abroad because, that's like such a cool
Such a big
opportunity.
thing.
I plan on doing it too. So I'm
Great.
excited.
So I went to Sydney, Australia, and I did an internship program. And I wasn't sure where they'd place me, but I had always been a camp counselor. So I was like, if I can work with kids or in education, that's my comfort zone. And I got placed at this special ed school with kids with intense disabilities, nonverbal, in wheelchairs. And I remember going into this building and meeting these teachers. There was class sizes of like 6. And I felt like I'd never seen so much tremendous, selfless love and care for children before. It was like the most beautiful environment, and it was contagious. It was like, oh my gosh, these people are so lovely. And look how deeply they care about kids. And by the way, these kids were wonderful kids, but there wasn't it's not like there's a quick return on investment. You're teaching kids how to pick up a spoon over the course of 2 months, right? So I remember just admiring their patience and their love. And when I got back from that, there was a Teach for America recruiter that came to Lafayette, where I went to school. that said, hey, it's okay. Like Lafayette didn't even offer an education program. So I remember being like, shoot, I am like now going into my senior year of college. I'm a psychology major. I thought I wanted to go into counseling or social work. It turns out I think I like want to be a teacher, but there wasn't an avenue to get trained to do that. And so when the Teach for America recruiter came, I realized that that was how I could do it. Like I could actually apply to work with Title I populations, but specifically in special ed, which is what I was interested in. And yeah, then I went through the interview process and got placed in Charlotte, and like had never been to Charlotte before, so it was complete. It was very spontaneous for a type A, like pretty organized
And you
person.
started off, you lived in Connecticut and you went to school in Pennsylvania.
Lafayette, and then I got into Teach for America my senior year and moved down here like 2 weeks after graduation and met 100 other people in my same situation. So it was an instant network. It was great.
Which that's kinda nice.
Yeah, and I got placed at Cochrane and was like told the first day that they needed me to be the special ed department chair and compliance facilitator, and I had no skill set to do that, but I was, I guess, coming into a department that needed turnaround, and they just really needed anyone to do it. And so that like pushed me into leadership over adults that I was 21 and I was leading, apparently leading women that were 45 to 60 years old and telling them they weren't doing something right. It was really tricky. And also I was learning at the same time, so I couldn't even identify what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I remember those first 3 months, in addition to teaching multiple classes in my own classroom of kids, I've just never worked. I would compare that kind of work to my first 3 months as a principal when I didn't have an assistant principal. Like it was just eating and sleeping and working. I didn't do anything else, but I had such adrenaline around it. It was so important to me that it was done well. I wouldn't have chosen to do less. So anyway, that's kind of how I fell in that year that I taught special ed for 2 years. I was working with a group of kids who were totally disenfranchised, that hadn't been taught well before. And I had learned and trained to be a regular ed teacher, so I just applied all the principles that I had learned. And I remember they grew like 3 years in 1 year. They all passed their math. I looped with them, so they all passed their math test the second year. And I just remember watching them defy expectation that like wasn't even fairly set on them around what they weren't capable of. And like it was just the most beautiful thing. And I remember, how dare I not continue to do this? Like I'm working as hard as I know how. This doesn't come naturally to me. But it's so contagious to do it well. Like you can't, once you know how to do it well, you only seek to do it better. You don't like allow yourself to be less because you see what it means. And so there's like a number of people that I taught with those first 2 years that I'm still connected to that are doing great work in Charlotte, which is also beautiful because like one might be a lawyer, one might be working as a consultant for education, one might be a coach at another school, but it's really beautiful to see the people that have committed and stayed in Charlotte, even though that was meant to be kind of a temporary, like after college thing. So it's nice to know that it's contagious. I think it's contagious for the people that should stay in the work. So I just got lucky.
What does come naturally to you?
Like I think I'm good at analysis. I can usually see a problem and understand the root cause and what needs to happen pretty quickly. So my job as a leader is usually helping others see that. So I'm not taking, like, I wouldn't be a good leader, and this is something I have to refrain from actively. Like when I see a problem, just say, here's how you need to fix it. So
Like let them figure it out.
right, while also not losing time or hurting kids in the process, right? Because when you know what the problem is, you know how to fix it. At what point do you just not refrain from saying what you need to do? So it requires intentionality around, like, I'm going to make sure it's done well and right, but I also need to make sure everyone's invested in the change that needs to happen and why. Otherwise, I'm just walking around fixing problems without ever building awareness in anyone else around why the problem exists. So that's fun to me, like the science of leadership and understanding how to influence people. I love that. I don't know that it ever, like it didn't initially come naturally. I just really enjoyed it. And then I like dork out about the different books that I read and the questions I ask of leaders I respect. And I just feel like I get better at it all the time. And I have amazing leaders and teachers around me at Ashley Park. So it's made easy because it's a very coachable, malleable, down for anything group of people. There's not much ego. We know we're doing tough work. I mean, our kids deserve for us to come every day on fire. And so you attract people like that. Like when I interview people, I'm like, tell me why you're not going to quit when it's hard. Yeah. And so they come in knowing it's going to be hard. That's not because my kids are hard. It's because what I expect them to do is like move the bar years at a time when we only have like 9 months of teaching to go. So it's a high expectation that our kids deserve to have, but it's not always easy, that's for sure.
So I have 2 questions in my head that I want to write down real quick.
Sure.
1 second. The first one, here, I'll just say it because I know
I have
it.
two
So,
good friends here from Lafayette.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fun.
I feel like I never meet Lafayette people down here.
is you were speaking about how you talk to your students who have graduated from
Yeah.
Ashley Park.
Yes.
So go into
Mhm.
like how do you contact them and like how you want them
Yeah,
to.
so a lot of one of my favorite things is like running into scholars anywhere that so there's a group of boys I used to teach that are going that
Hello.
hi.
It
It's
is
so hot. It's shaded in here too. It's nice.
Yeah.
There's a group of kids that I taught that have moved on, like they're all in different places, but they graduated from high school and they come back to Ashley Park basketball games. And so like that was a place where I would sit with all of them and be like, tell me everything, you know?
Yeah.
But it's really beautiful when, whether they're taking my lead or doing it naturally, like when I see someone I used to talk and I'm like, oh my gosh, DeFourier Walker, get over here, you know? And he's like big smiles and then we like embrace and it's just beautiful because I love that child. It just comes right back to you, you know? But anyway, as I've been interviewing them, sometimes it's like literally just Facebooking them, messaging them like, hey, can you give me a call? I want to catch up with you. But most of the time it's running into them in person. So I have a great relationship with Tamisha Barnes-Jones, who's the principal at West Charlotte. And so she knows she can always reach out to me or my assistant principal with questions about our kids, but that's like an easy way to stay connected to them. I'll go over to West Charlotte a good bit whenever I can. When we have a meeting there, I'll book extra time after the meeting so they just walk into the cafeteria or walk around campus and see kids, because at West Charlotte there's, I don't know the exact number, I want to say it's just below 2,000 or somewhere around there. Maybe that's way bigger than it is. Point is,
So
it's
you
over
guys are part of
1,000.
Project Lift
We are,
too?
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's our learning community. It's like our learning zone. So in Project Lift, all the principals regularly meet, and last year they started putting all the meetings at West Charlotte. So that I would get every time I go, I'd run into a kid. So it's all very like informal, but I also every graduation tell kids like I need you to come back and tell us how you're doing. And what I tend to note at any scholar that goes on to any high school, whether it's West Charlotte or somewhere else, and gets involved right away, or a club or student government, tends to have a really good experience. I feel like they're connected right away to a family of people that, you know, they have a commitment to, and because otherwise, you know, we offer a really small family environment for up to 10 years for our kids, and they go into a huge high school, so it's something we're intentional about and making sure, and we're always working to be more intentional about, like, how are we making sure they're prepared for that larger experience. And so when I talk to kids, I always ask them, how's your transition? Tell me more about what we could have done. And they give me good answers, but mostly it's really positive. Like, it was scary for the first day or two, but then I was fine. Which I wonder how much of that is would they experience no matter where they were coming from. And a lot of them are really honest with me too, but like some of the stories are really heartbreaking. Like, and the kids are never saying it's something we could have done better. They're just saying I didn't make a good choice. Like, I got with the wrong crowd for a little while.
Like when they grew up. Like
Yep. But it could happen at any point in high school. I'm just noticing as Tamisha works more and more, and I work more and more at both of our schools respectively, we're able to catch kids faster when they're slipping, which is better take care of them. So I think as we both continue to do that better, there will be less and less stories of temporary bad choices, and hopefully more like, I know they never had to make a bad choice to learn a lesson kind of thing. I go to West Charlotte's graduation every year. I went this past year, and it was like beautiful to watch kids I had taught stage. And they didn't need me these last 4 years to do that, nor any of our teachers. They had great people at West Charlotte that helped them. So that vertical alignment and like doing our respective jobs well is really important. And as kids move now into West Charlotte, like, we all have an opportunity to fill out like a spreadsheet on like, here's everything we feel like you should know about this kid, and it's all meant to keep expectations high, but it's like, so-and-so was great at soccer, he's great at math, he likes sitting up front, like little things that will hopefully help the teacher know something day one that would never lower expectations, but would just give good context for the child.
You communicate well with the high school.
Yeah, and we say like, this child has a particularly great relationship with this particular this scholar has a great relationship with this particular teacher or this admin, so if there's ever a problem, call this person. Which will hopefully they'll do, right? We'll just have to see, but I would never not give that information if asked for it. So what else?
And the second question is like, I know like every school has their own like mission and like goal for what they want in their own school, but I know because you're public school, you're under like the authority of like, you know, higher
Yeah,
like government,
larger.
like administrators. What's the struggle between
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is a great question. I think this is such a mindset. It's no one's fault. Like, it's no one who's being negative about it. But the work, the less I feel like I really have any restraint. Like, I can't answer what is the one thing you wish you could change, something you don't have control over. I feel like I have control over everything. Like and it's a good thing. Part of that is that we get a good bit of dollars from the federal government because of our Title I status. Now, would I rather we have a diverse school and not be Title I? Absolutely, right? But the fact that we are means we get additional dollars, which really just means I can get additional people. So I you know, besides having an extra teacher or two to make class sizes a bit smaller, I really just feel like there's nothing more important than a high quality teacher, whether that teacher is teaching 15 kids or 30 kids. And so even if I were to reduce class size, it wouldn't change the need to just keep all the great people I have. And that's up to me. That's not a restriction. So 95% of the time, it's something I have direct control over. And when it's not, there's a workaround. So our mission is equipping scholars with the academic skills and habits of character to ensure their limitless potential in high school, college, and beyond. And we have values as a staff of growth mindset and grit and hope and joy. So those are the 4 we talk about. We talk about hope as just giving scholars a sense of possibility. All kids deserve that, but not blind hope, not the cute,
Unrealistic
soft,
or, yeah.
we all are hopeful, right? Like, it's not that. It's intentional. Here's what's possible. Here's how you get there. Our kids have plenty of grit. I think all children do, but it's about tapping into that grit through joy, through joyful teaching and curiosity of learning. So the grit they already have in every aspect of their life, they can just apply to the content that they're learning that is seeming hard when it's first introduced. So a lot of the values that we have, all of our values, are values of our staff and values we teach our kids. It's not that we have to be one thing so our kids can be something different. We're all owning that we all need to be gritty. We all need to have a growth mindset about everything that happens in our building. We all need to be joyful, because you can't tell someone be joyful. You have to know what that is in you, what makes you want to come to work every day, and how are you going to naturally focus on that at the start of every day instead of on a problem that you're experiencing. So, you know, it's a mindset thing. And thankfully I have people at Ashley Park that know how to tap into that and know how to like make their joy contagious for kids. Because our best people like make learning so much fun, kids would never want to not be in their room, right? And so that's important. It's important that kids don't learn that they can accomplish more or do better or just do what they want to do once they leave school. It should be that they see school as an avenue to their brilliance, just like they would see doing anything else as an avenue to that. Too often, especially when our kids grow up a bit in middle school, it's like school's one thing and the rest of their life's another. So when our teachers like take an active interest in knowing who they are inside and out, they can make sure it's a continuum. It's not an either or an or. So, yeah, I could talk about any of this some more.